Ladies and gentlemen, we almost have a quorum. We were trying to wait. We lost one member, and I think he'll be right back. Please be patient with us. Good afternoon and welcome to the Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee. Today is February the 23rd, 2026. I am Councilmember Andrea Boone, Chair of this committee. To my right is the Honorable Wayne Martin, Vice Chair. To my left is the Honorable Byron D. Amos. And we also have Councilmember Kelsey Bond from District 2. Thank you for being here. We will now hear from the chairman of the Fulton County Commission, who is here to speak, the Honorable Rob Pitts. Thank you so much, sir, for being here with us today.
So much, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'll be brief in my remarks. I'm here today to speak in support of Councilmember Bond's legislation. And I've written to each of you expressing my strong support for the legislation in whatever form it takes. Just a minute of history about this. About 3 years ago, Fulton County and the City of Atlanta entered into an agreement to set up what's called a diversion center. City of Atlanta puts in about $2.5 million a year. Fulton County matches that, about $2.5 million per year. It's a wonderful facility. It was designed to accommodate approximately 40 arrestees daily. The sad news is, so far to date, the average has been about 3 per day. The high has been about 8. If it were used to its capacity, we would be able to service or divert almost 14,000 men and women from going to Rice Street or one of our other facilities in Fulton County. The other important point here is that the overwhelming majority of the inmates in our jails are residents of the City of Atlanta. And let me repeat that. The overwhelming majority of the inmates, detainees, arrestees in our jail are residents of the City of Atlanta. Again, the city puts in $2.5 million, the county puts in $2.5 million. This is really important. And the reason it is so important, because if we were able to do, to accomplish the original goal of this of the legislation as it was intended, we would be able to reduce the jail population significantly. If your officers, and yours are doing better than most, now we have our police officers, we have MARTA, Georgia State, and others. I've met with them to explain to them on more than one occasion the importance of having their officers trained and knowledgeable about the Diversion Center. But so far, the message hasn't gotten through. But the best of the 15-plus police departments in Fulton County has been Atlanta. But y'all can do more. And that's why I'm strongly here today to support the legislation that was introduced by Councilmember Bond. So thank you for this opportunity, and I ask for your favorable consideration of it today and when it comes before the full body. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Chairman Pitts. Do we have any questions or concerns from the body? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have also been joined by the Honorable Antonio Lewis, District 12. Can we have a motion to adopt the agenda? Moved by the Honorable Antonio Lewis, seconded by the Honorable Byron D. Amos. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
Can we have a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by the Honorable Antonio Lewis, seconded by the Honorable Vice Chair Wayne Martin. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
We are now to the public comment portion of our agenda. Our first speaker is Ms. Henri Jordan.
Getting on to the Spirit of God, everyone that's here. But God has chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And as God has chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. 1 Corinthians, 1st chapter, 27th verse. God has chosen. The selection by God is designed to silence the wisdom of man. He chooses the foolish to shame the wise. James Gripper appeared wise in the eyes of the flesh. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning light, to practice it, because it is the power of their hand. Micah 2nd chapter 1st verse. The figure of an oven heated by the baker refers to the schemes of the wicked. ADT Security trying to charge me $1,000 if I do not agree to their security, allowing James Griff to come in my house by saying my password to be quoted aloud on a recording. The thief coming not but for to steal and to kill and destroy. I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. St. John 10:10. Hireling, servants for pay, will flee in time of personal danger because he is working for money and neither owns nor loveth the sheep. James have proven he has no desire to be a Christ-like husband. Jesus let James know, you told me not to marry him. Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou wast not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled. And when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. Isaiah 33rd chapter, 1st verse. The law was created for us to treat one another right, with love. When you are in a position to fight against these corrupted acts, do you fight against them? You reap what you sow. Jesus compelled me to fight to help conquer sin in me, around me, and in others. I had a dream that the enemy ruled over us. And when the enemy ruled over us, they put me over you. But I'm fighting for this not to happen. But I seek to obey Jesus because I need what Christ has for me. What about you?
Next speaker, Belinda McIntosh.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to address the council. My name is Belinda McIntosh, and I support expanding the use of the Diversion Center. I'm a physician. I'm a general adult psychiatrist, and I've been practicing in the area for the past 19 years. I've treated college students and veterans, the affluent and the unhoused, people battling addiction to alcohol, drugs, and people with mental illness across the spectrum of acuity and severity. And I often see patients who've been arrested for minor offenses during a time where they weren't doing well. And maybe they were off their medicines or they weren't in their recovery program. Anyway, they've got symptoms, law enforcement is called, and they're arrested and taken to jail. Incarceration does not help people with mental illness to get better, and the impact on their functioning can be severe. They've lost housing, connection with their support system, maybe their job. Following their incarceration, a year later, they're struggling to pay fines. And then there's the human toll on their relationships, their families, and their communities. Patients have missed out on important events in their lives and in their children's lives because of incarcerations that were not necessary and unhelpful. All of this worsens mental health and traps people in cycles of poverty and suffering that can further exacerbate their illnesses. My experiences align with extensive research showing that persons with mental illness, substance use disorders, and problems caused by homelessness and extreme poverty are better served by connecting them to resources that address these problems. These persons are not served by being taken to jail. Utilization of the Diversion Center can provide people with the help they need, whether it's connecting them to counseling or psychiatric treatment, their families, housing resources, employment resources, and currently, the Diversion Center is operating below its capacity. And although utilization has increased since it began, it remains extremely low. And we should all be invested in seeing the Diversion Center thrive and increasing its capacity to serve. You know, I appreciate those law enforcement officers who are bringing eligible persons to the Diversion Center and those on City Council who support expansion of the Diversion Center use. We need a lot more of that. And I'm here because I want every eligible person, every single eligible person to be brought to the Diversion Center, not just some of them. And I say this to you as a doctor because every single one of my patients counts. And I'm in support of efforts to increase utilization of this Diversion Center towards its full capacity. Let's stop criminalizing mental illness and poverty and do what works for people who are dealing with poverty and mental illness. And let's do this for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Michael Collins.
Well, I can't believe I have to follow that. Thank you, Chair and members of Council. My name is Michael Collins. I am the Director of Playfair ATL. We are an Atlanta-based coalition ensuring the 2026 World Cup upholds labour, housing and human rights while leaving a positive local legacy. I'm here today in strong support of Council Member Kelsey Bond's diversion resolution because it reflects both the data and the urgency laid out in the most recent federal consent decree report on the Fulton County Jail. The report makes clear what many of us have been saying for years. The jail remains dangerously overcrowded and the county must safely reduce the population to meet constitutional standards. We cannot build our way out of a crisis. We must divert our way out of this crisis. Diversion is one of the fastest, safest and most cost-effective tools the City of Atlanta has to reduce unnecessary jail bookings. The Centre for Diversion Services was designed for exactly this purpose, to redirect people accused of low-level offences, particularly those experiencing behavioural health challenges, away from Fulton County Jail and into care. Yet the new data shows we are dramatically underutilising this resource. While the centre was projected to divert more than 10,000 people annually, actual diversions remain far below that level. The gap represents thousands of people who could have safely avoided jail and the dangerous conditions the consent decree warns about. The consent decree report underscores that population reduction is not optional. It is essential to protecting life and constitutional rights. Expanding and normalising diversion is one of the few tools fully within the city's control to help meet that mandate. And this moment is especially important for Atlanta. In just a few months, Atlanta will welcome the world for 2026 World Cup. We're expecting hundreds of thousands of visitors, global media attention, and intense scrutiny of how our city operates under pressure. Major international events historically bring increased low-level enforcement around quality of life offences, the very cases that are most appropriate for diversion. Put simply, diversion is part of being World Cup ready. Councilmember Bond's resolution does something very practical and timely. It aligns city policy with the reality on the ground and signals to APD and city leadership that diversion should be the default response for eligible low-level offences, not the exception. Before I close, I want to acknowledge the community presence here. If you're in this room today because you support expanding diversion and passing the resolution, I invite you to raise your hand. Thank you. That support reflects what we are hearing across Atlanta. Passing this resolution is a concrete step the city can take right now to help meet the moment, not just for the World Cup, but for a safer and more accountable future. Thank you.
Kat Leatherwood.
Okay, and I don't know how I'm supposed to follow that. My name is Kat Leatherwood. I'm a resident of Atlanta. I am a DSA member, and I am and always will be a proud member of the People's Campaign to Stop Cop City. When the mayor and city council ignored 17 hours of public comment and 116,000 signatures, we were told that better trained cops would solve all of the concerns that we've had. The South River is polluted, and we're still fighting constantly for pad funding, and the beds at the diversion center sit empty as people are forced into inhumane conditions at the jail. And citizens, taxpayers' money is being wasted to rebuild the jail and to build these structures that we're not using. The issue isn't training or funding, because if actual affordable housing with 30% AMI had the speed and institutional support Cop City did, so many issues could be resolved tomorrow. It's a choice to decide who deserves our empathy and love and who will be crushed in the pursuit of capital. We build a diversion center and don't fill it because we know that, that modern policing doesn't solve the issues our society has. It locks it away in the dark. This vote is a no-brainer. If you are serious about your commitment to public safety, then vote for Councilmember Bond's resolution. Thank you. I'm done.
Matthew Nursey.
Good afternoon, committee. My name is Matthew Nursey. I am an organizer with the Housing Justice League. We are members of the Justice for Cornelius Taylor Coalition and are also here in solidarity with the Playfair ATL Coalition. I'm here to speak in favor of Councilmember Bond's resolution as well. The World Cup is coming in less than 3 months, and I don't think the city is ready for that. I'm afraid that we are going to see a replay of the 1996 Olympics, where we know that thousands of unhoused individuals were either shipped out via buses or arrested and thrown into jail. Currently, the city of Atlanta, a population of 500,000 people, has about 3,500 currently counted unhoused individuals. A city of New York, 8 million people, currently has around 4,000 unhoused individuals. And so what's the difference there is that I think, in other cities, they invest in, rental assistance, they invest in eviction defense, supportive housing for the unhoused. But here in Atlanta, we spend a third of our budget on policing. And so that is the mentality or the strategy we've used routinely in Atlanta when it comes to dealing with our unhoused. Just over a year ago, the city crushed a man to death with a bulldozer because of this policy of just wanting to sweep away our unhoused neighbors out of sight for big events like MLK March, like the World Cup, like the Super Bowl. And so, we need to fund our communities, not police. The strategy that we have been using is not working. And in other cities, they are, experimenting with alternative ways of policing and alternative forms of public safety. And that is exactly what we need to be doing here right now in Atlanta. The housing crisis is only going to get worse. Majority of people are working paycheck to paycheck. A third of Americans don't even have, $250 saved up for an emergency. Half of Americans have less than $2,000 saved. So any one of us can be in housing precarity anytime. And I know that if I was on the street unhoused, I would not want to be targeted by police just for simply not having a place to live. And congregating in an area with people of my community where we feel safe in these encampments, right? So, yeah, we need to fund communities and stop these sweeps, and we need to stop arresting our unhoused. Thank you.
Olivia Vieira.
Good afternoon. My name is Olivia Vieira, and I'm a medical student and your constituent. Thank you, council members, for your work and dedication to the city, and for everyone who came before and who will come after me with awesome comments. I'm here in support of expanding the use of the Diversion Center. I'm also here on behalf of Stop Criminalization of Our Patients, a group of healthcare providers and advocates who believe that contact with the criminal legal system is itself a public health crisis, and that our patients deserve care, not cages. As a medical student, I cared for a patient with sickle cell disease who was incarcerated. Instead of simply treating his pain, our team spent hours on the phone with pharmacists and prison staff trying to figure out what medications they'd be willing to give him. In the end, they gave him substandard care when he returned to prison. That's what criminalization costs, not just dignity, but care. Atlanta built the Center for Diversion and Services to do better. It has the capacity to serve over 10,000 people a year. Right now, it's serving just 3 to 5 daily. In other words, we have the knowledge, the providers, the facilities, and the community to do this differently. What we need now is for this council to say clearly, in Atlanta, we treat crisis with care. I respectfully urge you to pass this resolution. Thank you.
Robin Hanson Smith Simpson. Robin Hanson Smith Simpson.
Good afternoon. My name is Robin Hassan Simpson with Women on the Rise, and I'm here today in strong support of Councilmember Kelsey's bond diversion resolution. The Federal Monitor has now said plainly what our community has known for years. The population at Rice Street is not sustainable. This is not just a number on a page, it is a warning that our current approach is breaking down for incarcerated people, for staff, and for taxpayers. We see the consequence in the data. In 2023, only about 3% of people in the Fulton County Jail were held solely on misdemeanor charges. By 2025, that number had jumped to 17.7%. That is 449 people jailed on low-level offenses that often qualify for diversions for citations. This is not a public safety strategy, this is a policy failure. Every one of those unnecessary bookings contribute to overcrowding, to dangerous conditions, and to the risk that a court will impose a population cap we could have avoided. Meanwhile, Atlanta already has a capacity to divert 40 people a day, but we are not using that capacity. That means we are choosing a more expensive, less effective, and less safe option when a better one is sitting right in front of us. This resolution does not ask APD to ignore issues within Atlanta. It asks APD to use the tools the city has already invested in. Citations instead of cuffs, diversion instead of jail for people whose needs are better met by services and not jail cells. This is not how we align our practices with the federal consent decree. We reduce pressure on Rice Street and save millions of dollars in the process. And as we prepare to host the FIFA World Cup, the stakes are even higher. The world is coming to Atlanta. We can either repeat the mistakes of past mega events, sweeping people into jails for low-level conduct to create the illusion of order, or we can show that Atlanta has matured and that we understand real safety comes from stability, community health, and fiscal responsibility. Overcrowded jails and preventable detention do not signal strength. They signal a failure of imagination and initiative. On behalf of community members, advocates, and families directly impacted by this crisis, I urge you, adopt Councilmember Bond's diversion resolution, direct ADP to fully utilize diversion and citations for eligible low-level offenses, and help Atlanta lead the way towards a safer, more just, and more fiscally responsible approach to public safety. Thank you.
Kayla Smith.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla Smith, and I'm a community advocate and member of the Playfair ATL and Community Over Cages coalitions. I'm here today to use my voice to support Councilmember Bond's resolution that will significantly increase diversion and help to heal my community. Many minor offenses can lead to destabilization or destruction of someone's life. Diversion has been shown to positively impact families, individuals, and communities at large. Being incarcerated, even for 24 hours or less, can lead someone to lose their employment. Now that person can't pay their rent. Now that person has lost their home, or maybe even their life, given the conditions of the jail. And the vicious cycle of poverty, homelessness, and incarceration continues. We're already facing an unconstitutional and overcrowded jail. With the World Cup coming and bring thousands of visitors, hundreds of thousands of visitors, we have to do something different. Otherwise, the outcomes will be catastrophic and frankly embarrassing for our city. The good news is we already have the infrastructure to do something different that works if this city and APD supports and utilizes the Diversion Center as intended. Diversion is a public safety and wellness strategy that taxpayers and this city has already invested in. We need this council to pass and support this resolution, not only to make the dollars make sense, but to put the health, safety, and dignity of the city above all else. We can't repeat our past. We still have officers today saying that they don't know where the Diversion Center is, which is a huge problem considering it's in the same building as the Atlanta City Detention Center. This resolution will examine the trainings or lack thereof and identify why officers don't know or simply refuse to use the Diversion Center. Atlanta deserves better, and I urge you guys to pass this resolution. Thank you.
Maria Parker.
Good afternoon. My name is Mariah Parker. I'm an organizer with the Union of Southern Service Workers. We represent low-wage workers in fast food, restaurants, and retail. And in my work with this population, I've seen oftentimes the ways that incarceration can negatively impact people's ability to get waged work that allows them a dignified life and leads to a cycle of reincarceration. I've worked with a young man who was actually stabbed in one of the local jails when he was in his early 20s, and his fear of being reincarcerated for a low-level crime, he ended up working at Dunkin' Donuts right here downtown for 10 years, making $10 an hour. When the union approached him about organizing to try and better his circumstances, he was afraid. He was still afraid of falling back into the life of the streets and ending up in jail again because of the trauma he experienced from his time incarcerated. We should never have people in our community who are afraid to exercise their rights to organize, their rights to exercise the First Amendment and other things of this sort because of negative experiences they have had in our local jails. I have seen recently as the community is mobilized in protest of the violence we've seen with ICE across the country, people afraid to take the streets in these nonviolent protests here in Atlanta because they have criminal records for low-level nonviolent offenses in their history and are scared of being reincarcerated for essentially nothing. People are so scared to end up reincarcerated that they often feel forced into this low-wage work. They have no other options, and so because of their employment gaps from being incarcerated before, because of background checks and things of this nature, they end up in these jobs where they're making $3.50 an hour in tips. They're making $10 an hour. They're not able to find a stable housing. They're not able to advance their education because of the way they have been set back by incarceration. This is why, through my experience working with low-wage service workers, that I support Councilmember Bond's resolution to invest increased resources and commit ourselves to diversion over incarceration so that workers like the ones I work with can fight for better lives for themselves. They don't have to live in constant fear. And we can avoid the ongoing downstream effects of recidivism from when people emerge from the jails and may end end up back into the same circumstances they find themselves in before. Investing in, and committing ourselves to diversion is actually the pathway to ensuring long-term stability in our communities and long-term public safety during and then after the World Cup. Thank you.
Brother Muhammad?
I am that I am. Abracadabra. I come here to say, miseducation of the Negro, Carter G. Woodson. He the one gave you this month, February. Why did he do that? Because he didn't want you to continue to water down the works that his people was writing about during the time of the Depression, during the time of our problem with segregation. But you had W. Du Bois, who came up with the talented 10, Mr. Martin. Why did he come up with that? Because he knew that we weren't getting a voice. And he said, I'm not going to take your money, Mr. Carter G. Woodson, because I'm going to tell my people the truth. Then on my left hand, you got Brother Thorpe, the Emily Tablets. What is Thorpe? You remember that place called Atlantis? He was one of representing the hieroglyphs, the writings. He wrote about everything that ever have been written in religion. But just to give a credit to the Caucasian. But Miss Boone, my concern, Mayor, is the code violation that continue to be ignored when the police come to my house about them dogs. Code violations that was out there last Thursday when they came out there and told me that yes, he's parked on the grass, he parked on the sidewalk. Why you always complaining? That's one of the officers asked me that, Mr. Mon. Why you always complaining? Because of the violation of the law, the violation of the code. I have enough problem with his dogs not being on the lease. But why did I bring it up, though? Because I had code enforcement officer Edward say, I got 30 cases I got to work. I don't have the time to get back out there. I had Officer Spock, who I talked to, the deputy chief of police, came out there Thursday and said, look, we're going to charge you with your vehicle parked on the street. I got an antique car parked on the street with a tag on it. But they're going to use that to say, shut up, Negro. I'm going to tell you, enough is enough. I've only been asking Ms. Boone, I didn't ask your staff to say, can we have a meeting? I have great-grandchild, and I don't want him to be subject to what I was subject with the dogs. Because like the police said, we don't work with the dog enforcement. I talked to Mr. Pitt. I was at the meeting the last, first of the month talking about that. The time is up. It's only y'all concerned about time. Carter G. Woodson said what? He said the same thing that Mr. Donald Trump said. The 14th Amendment, Section 1981, was originally enacted for the benefit of the American descendants of slaves. I don't need no ID card. I have an ID card. I'm a veteran, disabled, that. And I have the right to get some service from this body. But Mr. Trump made it very clear. The American descendants of slaves are us. We should be treated like the Caucasians be treated in contracts in public service. I'm asking no more than that, Ms. Boone. You know how you said aggressive the dogs are. This brother let them dogs loose in the back. Don't even have a gate on the house. He just rented their house. During to the pandemic, all the people that lived in that area had their house. I'm gonna go. But as I told him, it's Overstreet. And I told his chief, that Caucasian should have said that. Now I'm gonna charge you. Thank you.
Mr. Martin, can you give us some information on the dog issue for Fulton County? Councilmember Wayne Martin, District 11. Mr. Muhammad, he's going to give us some information right quick.
So we remain in contact with Fulton County Animal Control, and they said that they're monitoring the situation. And so you just continue to let us know what's going on at the office, and we will be in contact along with you with Animal Control, because you're on the ground, you see it day to day, and we're here to support it any way we can, because we want to make sure that everybody is safe over there. But we have been in touch with them. I know you've been in touch with them as well, but we do have your back.
I appreciate that, Ms. Boone. I appreciate Mr. Martin. But as this morning, before I came over here, the man got some dogs supposed to be released. He turned the lease loose this morning before I come. He does that. Now, what you want me to do? Go back home and see if I can get in my house until you get your dog control people out there who told me? What did they tell me, Mr. Martin? I told you. You the same one called before. We don't come out unless you get bite.
Is there any way we could get,
They told me I had to get, it's a
Chairman
prioritization.
to Chairman
We
Pitts?
prioritize when people get bit. But have you been bitten yet?
Brother
Mr.
Muhammad,
Mark?
Brother Muhammad, what we're gonna do, Chairman Pitts was here today. Mr. Overton is going to send them an email so that we can get in touch with Ms. Harriet Thomas, his chief of staff, because I do believe that this is a very serious issue.
That's all I'm saying.
This is very serious.
Ms. Boone, I don't say no more. Thank you. I know your heart. Peace be unto you.
Okay, we're gonna try to be in touch with Chairman Pitt's office today as well. Thank you. Next, David Serrano.
Hey, everybody. Hello, PSLA committee members. My name is David Serrano, and I'm a recently sheltered resident of Atlanta. I lived on the streets here for about 4 months before I was able to connect with and afford a pad split room last month. I work at a part-time job in Atlanta to afford my room while I'm trying to start up my own business. I've been volunteering a few days a week at the In-Town Cares food pantry near Ponce Library, and I interact with members of Atlanta's diverse population there. Many I talk with at the pantry are homeless, like I was, or live in poverty. Many are disabled or addicted to drugs and alcohol, and a lot of them have mental health issues as well. Many are also immigrants or citizens transitioning to Atlanta from other locations around the country, like myself. I also volunteered for the January pit count last month and saw firsthand the desperation in the faces of the forgotten citizens of the city, a lot of them. We surveyed about 40 of them, and we were only out for about 3 hours. I came here today as it looks like I won't be able to afford my weekly rent this week, so I'm currently prepping to survive going back on in an unsheltered life. This worries me as I've read reports that local governments are passing laws criminalizing homelessness. I've also learned back in 1996 about 9,000 unsheltered citizens of Atlanta were cruelly thrown into the county jail by APD to sweep the streets before the Olympics. That is the opposite of public safety. Now the FIFA World Cup is here. Are we expecting that same cruelty? I'm here today commenting on the use of APD's pre-arrest diversion programs. I've also read reports that Atlanta's Diversion Center has a capacity of about 40 beds a day and only receives about 3 to 5 cases a day. That is sorely underutilized. What is the problem? Have low-level offenses disappeared from Atlanta? Are all Atlanta crimes violent and not to be diverted? Are APD officers not trained in pre-arrest diversion? Are they lazy? Or is APD not doing what their local government has lawfully ordered them to do, is to divert? Over the weekend, I heard Mayor Andre speak publicly with California's Governor, Uncle Gavin, on the subject of homelessness, mental health, immigration, and diversion programs and how they work in California and actually decrease the homeless population in half. And California has one of the largest homeless populations in the country. Saying these programs are working publicly to fight crime while helping unsheltered and those suffering from addiction, mental health, and domestic violence. But that's not true, not here in Atlanta. These diversion programs are not being used properly or effectively here. The mayor is the city's top cop. He is the architect of Cop City. As city council must remind him and his administrations that diversion programs are the path forward to rid our law enforcement of this cruelty. You must pass Councilmember Kelsey Bond's 26R 3234-6 resolution for the public safety of all of our citizens and for the transparency into how these police diversion procedures are trending in our community. Stop the cruelty, love our neighbors, unhoused or not. They are still all our neighbors. Thank you.
Connect King.
Good afternoon. My name is Connect King, and I'm the Movement Policy Associate at the Southern Center for Human Rights and a 2023 graduate of Spelman College. Today, I want to speak about what it means for Atlanta to make a hopeful, meaningful next step towards diversion. Over the last decade, and importantly, at the urging of and in partnership with community advocates, Atlanta has built something remarkable, a diversion ecosystem that provides diversionary options for policing, and most importantly, connection to resources and treatment for people suffering from the impact of poverty, substance use issues, and mental health diagnoses. Atlanta has PAD, a national model for care-based responses. Their work has grown from a police-assisted diversion model to include a community response model. Their work has been expanded through the partnership with 311, proving that when we treat people with dignity and connect them to resources, we reduce harm and prevent unnecessary law enforcement involvement. Together, the City of Atlanta and Fulton County, again, led by community advocates and providers, imagined and created the Center for Diversion Services, where police officers can quickly deliver people in need directly to resources and professionals faster than it would take for them to be booked into jail. You see, unlike many other cities, Atlanta has the infrastructure to provide support, aid, and care for where other municipalities are restricted to cuffs, cages, and stays of incarceration that exacerbate the harms experienced by diversion-eligible individuals. However, all of this is for naught if the officers who make contact with people in need do not maximize their usage of the resources, as has been the case as of recently. Today, this committee will consider 26R3234, a resolution which calls on the Atlanta Police Department to review its procedures and ensure alignment with the City of Atlanta's policy priority to emphasize the use of community-based diversion for eligible offenses. It does not create anything new. It simply ensures that the systems the city has already invested in are functioning as intended. This legislation creates transparency to ensure that those who have worked alongside the City of Atlanta to create this infrastructure are able to ensure that such is being utilized. On behalf of the Southern Center for Human Rights, today I ask that you recommend and support this legislation and move it along to full council for full consideration. Transparency is a partnership and is how government and civil society build trust with each other and with the public. It is how we ensure that the stories and successes within PAD 311 and the Center for Diversion Services become the norm instead of the exception. This is our chance to honor the years of work that brought us here to reaffirm that diversion is a core public safety strategy rooted in care and fiscal responsibility. Atlanta doesn't have to start over, but Atlanta does now have the opportunity to step up. Thank you.
Next speaker, Devin Franklin.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Devin Franklin. I am Senior Movement Policy Counsel with the Southern Center for Human Rights. I am in support of the resolution that is being put forth by Councilmember Bond today, or is being considered by this body today. But it's not really what I'm here to speak for directly. However, I do find it especially serendipitous that the subject that I'm going to speak to you all about has such great overlap with this resolution to improve the usage of diversion. And it also tracks with so much of what I've discussed with you all over the past several years. The staged withdrawal legislation, which was originally introduced by Councilmember Antonio Lewis last year, that is 25R3289, is ripe. As I've said in past few meetings, the legislation calls for a report to be given to this body detailing the plan for the withdrawal of individuals from the Atlanta City Detention Center who are, in fact, detainees of Fulton County. That resolution calls for that report to be given about 270 days prior to the end of that lease. And as I've said several times, we believe that 270-day mark falls on or about March 5th. What I would hope to get some guidance on today is who is going to be providing that report, and when does this body expect to take that issue up? This is particularly concerning given the state of the Fulton County Jail and the conditions of those who reside inside of it. If you all are not aware, the federal monitor, Kathleen Kinney, who is leading the provisions of the consent decree, issued a report on Friday with a number of findings that I believe that you all will find particularly interesting. The biggest of them, in my opinion, is one that should sound somewhat familiar to you all, which states that the next most reasonable option for Fulton County is to reduce the jail population. There were several other findings I've made a memo that I would like to pass along to you all. But to discuss a bit of what is discussed inside of that, some of the findings that exist at this point in time, nearly a year after, well, more than a year after the consent decree was entered, is that they found that many required policies and training programs are still unfinished. Because training has not been fully delivered, the monitor cannot yet fully rate compliance in that area. People in the jail do not consistently receive clear or accessible information about their rights, especially individuals with disabilities or limited English proficiency. There are issues with protection of harm. This is one of the most serious problems: staffing shortages, missed security rounds, weak investigations, and ongoing violence continue to put people at risk. And the lack of training or the lack of adherence to training by Fulton County staff, the monitor found problems that they're not able to properly review incident reports. And this is all a direct consequence of the fact that, as opposed to holding Fulton County accountable for reducing its jail population before, that this body instead gave additional beds. And so we would like to have those answers so that we as a community can continue to work alongside elected officials to reduce the jail population and improve the safety of those individuals. Thank you.
Next speaker, last name Trahar, Esme, first name.
Good afternoon. My name is Esme Trahar. I'm a resident doctor, and I'm also a member of SCOOP, or Stop Criminalizing Our Patients, which is a community-based organization focused on the intersections between healthcare and the criminal legal system. I am here today to voice my strong support for Council Member Bond's resolution concerning pre-arrest diversion, specifically ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The influx of tourism into our city that will follow the World Cup and accompany the World Cup holds huge economic potential and really stands to affirm Atlanta's position in cultural capital on both a national and a global stage. But the excitement and opportunity that accompanies the World Cup this summer should invoke for all of us a comparable event exactly 30 years ago, which is the Olympic Games. In the lead up to the Olympics in 1996, Atlanta arrested and jailed thousands of unhoused people, and the repercussions of this are still reverberating around the city today. Without a concrete commitment to pre-arrest diversion like is offered in this resolution, Atlanta stands to repeat history and harm some of its most vulnerable citizens through arrest, incarceration, and continued disenfranchisement. By contrast, diversion is a proven public health strategy that stands to benefit Atlanta residents and visitors alike, and Atlanta already has the infrastructure in the form of the Center for Diversion Services to execute effective diversion efforts. I respectfully implore this committee to adopt this resolution for the well-being of the community that y'all represent. Thank you very much.
Next speaker, Devin Barrington Ward, with a total of 6 minutes.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman.
One second, let her get the, we ready? 6 minutes. Ready?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairwoman Boone and members of the committee. I would first like to thank Councilmember Kelsey Bond for introducing this resolution and the co-sponsors of this resolution, Council Members Ishay Collins, Antonio Lewis, Jason Dozier, and Matt Westmoreland. I also would like to thank Councilmember Boone, Councilmember Wayne Martin, and Dustin Hillis for taking time to speak with me over the last couple of days about this issue. We are here today at a very critical moment. A federally appointed monitor under the Fulton County Jail consent decree has issued a very stark warning. The population at the Rice Street detention facility is no longer sustainable. Due to overcrowding and ongoing staffing shortages, the monitor has suggested a court-mandated population cap may be necessary to keep the conditions safe for incarcerated people and the jail staff. Now, I want you all to think about that. A federal official is signaling that the only way to stabilize this facility may be judicial intervention to force the population down. That should be alarming to every policymaker in this city and county, because that means we aren't doing our jobs. Because this is not just about numbers, it's about human lives. It's about whether we continue to send people into a facility that we know is overcrowded, that is understaffed, and that is dangerous, and for those reasons is under federal supervision. At the same time, we are seeing a dramatic increase in misdemeanor detention. In 2023, we were at about 3% of the jail population, roughly about 85 people, who were being held solely on misdemeanors. In 2025, that number jumped to 17.7%, or 450 people. That is not a small shift. That is a reversal of progress. And much of that increase has been driven by arrests by the Atlanta Police Department. Now, let me be very clear. People charged only with misdemeanors are not the drivers of violent crime in this city. So why are we filling an overcrowded jail with people accused of low-level, nonviolent offenses? We have diversion infrastructure. We have PAD. We have a 24/7 Center for Diversion, and taxpayers are paying for both. But we are not consistently meeting the 40-person per day diversion capacity. And we are wasting money by underutilizing a program designed to prevent the exact type of overcrowding that Fulton County is experiencing right now. So this resolution doesn't eliminate officer discretion. It does not undermine public safety. It reinforces accountability and quality control, and it ensures that transparency is given around how diversion is used or not used in the city. Now let's talk about the context of which we are operating within. We are about to head into one of the largest events that the city has hosted in quite some time, the FIFA World Cup. And we know historically, these events often bring increased arrests for low-level offenses, quality of life charges, disorderly conduct, and others within that category. We saw this in '96, and we cannot afford to repeat those same mistakes. If we allow a surge of low-level arrests during the World Cup to flow directly into Rice Street, we will exacerbate an already unstable situation. So it is imperative that despite whatever cultural resistance may exist within the Atlanta Police Department around the adoption of diversion, that we adapt, because the alternative is dangerous. Overcrowding is not abstract. It means unsafe housing conditions, it means inefficient supervision, and it means a greater risk of violence to those who are incarcerated inside the facility and those who are working there. The monitor has been very clear. The population levels at Rice Street are not sustainable. And if we truly want to assist Fulton County in this jail crisis, the solution is not simply leasing more beds at the Atlanta City Detention Center, a decision that many of us here today opposed. But the best way to assist Fulton County is to reduce the intake at Rice Street. It's to stop the unnecessary arrests. It's to fully utilize a $5 million taxpayer investment. Keeping people who are not threats to public safety out of the facility that does not have a clear path forward for how it plans to address its issues. Diversion is not radical, it's practical. It keeps families intact, it prevents destabilization, and it reduces recidivism. Diversion saves taxpayer dollars, and diversion protects constitutional rights. And right now, diversion protects this city from a deepening crisis that federal officials have already flagged. So this resolution is not about some radical ideology. It's about alignment and aligning enforcement practices with fiscal responsibility, constitutional compliance, and human dignity. And so if we fail to act, the courts will act for us. So let's choose smart local governance over federal intervention. Let's choose prevention over punishment, and let's choose stability over overcrowding. Thank you.
Thank you. This brings us to our presentations. Today we will hear from APD Deputy Chief Jason Smith first.
Good afternoon, everybody.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Excellent to see you. So we'll start a little bit with our crime report out for our numbers, how we're looking so far. Sorry, it's a little low. We're very happy with the year-to-date numbers as we're down 17% overall. I will say, if you remember 4 weeks ago, we were up about 40% in aggravated assaults. We were having some dwelling shootings, which I know we've talked about with this body before. We made a couple of key arrests in that. As of today, 4 weeks later, we are sitting at 8% over. So that's dropped 32% in the past 4 weeks. So we're very happy that's trending in the right direction. Crime, like as I said, we're looking good for this year. We're happy with the trends that we're seeing, especially in homicides, and shootings are down 15%. I do want to point to two incidents that I think really illustrate kind of what we're encountering that sometimes get swept under the rug and people just don't realize what happens out there. And we put one on our social media page today. I would encourage you guys to look at it. At 330 Edgewood, at the Hendricks Ultra Lounge. It was on a Saturday night. A gentleman got into a fight inside the club and was removed from the club by security. That gentleman then said he was going to shoot up the place. He actually went to his car while inebriated. Out of his trunk, he pulled a handgun and then was walking back to the club when the officer encountered him in the parking lot. The officer was able to disarm the individual and take him into custody and arrest him. But that just goes to show how dangerous these situations are. And when I mean he had a handgun, I mean he was walking with it in his hand. This was not in his waistband. This was not in a holster. He was walking to the club with it in his hand. And that officer was able to intervene and get that subject in custody. But that's how close we come to tragedy sometimes, and I don't think we realize it. There was another incident at CVS on Cheshire Bridge Road. A gentleman had shoplifted. So we start off as a simple shoplifting. He's confronted by the clerk. And when he's confronted by the clerk, he raises his shirt, he's got a handgun, and he says, "You see who I am and you see what I got." That person was encountered just down the road by another officer, and that officer was able to disarm him and get him in custody. That gentleman was a 15-time arrestee and convicted felon. These are dangerous individuals we're encountering sometimes, and it goes to the great work and training that our officers have been displaying, and it's commendable some of these cases that they make. A lot of it doesn't get a lot of press, but we wanted to make sure we highlight those. I do want to talk about the Center for Diversion Services, as we've been talking about it a lot today. Just to give you a few things, so since it has opened, we've diverted 1,424 people to date, which is a number we have embraced the Center for Diversion Services since day one. We continue to embrace the Diversion Center and utilize it when appropriate. Just to give you an idea, in 2024, all of PAD diversions was about 160. So the following year, when CDS opened, we did 1,200. So far this year, we're over 200 diversions year to date. Now, when we talk about diversion, there's three things that have to take place for a diversion to happen. And I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. They have to fit the criteria, right? And where does that criteria come from? The criteria comes from the Justice Policy Board. For those of you that don't know who's on the Justice Policy Board, I sit on the board. It is chaired by one of your members. It is chaired by a judge from Fulton County. Grady is on the board. Fulton County Solicitor's Office, the DA's office, PAD, CDS. This criteria was developed in coordination with everybody as a whole. The criteria is they have to be over 18 years of age. They have to be nonviolent crime. The individual has to agree. They have to give consent to go to the diversion center. And I'll make sure you guys understand, if they refuse to go to that diversion center, we can't take them there. This is all based on consent. And they cannot have an active warrant. Even if that active warrant is for, say, not paying a fine for a seatbelt, a warrant is a judicial order for us to take. We are bound by state law to honor that warrant. We have no choice in the matter. And then the officer has to observe circumstances that indicate a mental health crisis, substance abuse, homelessness, or extreme poverty. So they have to meet the criteria. They have to consent. And then this is the other big one. The victim of the crime has to consent that they're good with that person doing diversion. We can't just if the victim wants to press charges, we are bound to press charges for that victim. So those circumstances have to take place in order for a diversion to take place. And again, APD was responsible for, I want to say, 83% of all diversions in 2025. This is a countywide initiative, and Atlanta Police Department is but one facet of this. So again, year to date, we're over 200. We're excited about that. We're excited. We have embraced this center, and we are using it when appropriate. We're going to continue to use it when appropriate. That's all I have, ma'am. I'm here to answer any questions you guys might have.
Do we have any questions or concerns from the body? The Honorable Antonio Lewis.
And just our commissioner came today, and our chairman came today, and so that alerted me a whole lot. And I was just looking at some of the things he said, and what he said is that APD is the best out of his 15 cities, but he said that APD needs to use the diversion center more. He said that the county puts in about $2 million per year, and the city puts in $2 million. We actually put in $2.9 million. I actually went back to look up the legislation. So as a city, we put in, he was 900,000 short on us. So we put in 2.9 million. But 40 people per day is what it's supposed to do. But what do you say based on what the chairman came to alert us on?
I don't know what's in I can't speak to what the chairman thinks, or I can give you what, from an APD perspective, right?
I want your perspective.
My APD perspective is we are utilizing it when appropriate. We are utilizing it. It has been ingrained in all of our zones. We have trained our officers on it, and we are using it when it's available and when it's appropriate for that case. So everything is and even when you look at our numbers, just because it says criminal trespass, it does not mean that was a divertible offense. The cases in that criminal trespass are very specific to each case. So you can't look at numbers as a whole and say, just because it's a criminal trespass, it's automatically divertible and it wasn't diverted. Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm just going by what our chairman came over and said he wants us to implore our officers to do. The chairman talked about how the Fulton County Jail is full of people from what he considers that came in from APD. And he thinks that some can be diverted. That's why I'm asking you, how do you feel? And can we start talking to them? Because he may be confused.
Fulton County sits on the Justice Policy Board that I spoke about, and we meet quarterly, and we absolutely discuss these issues.
So why did he come down here today to say, because he said that, he's saying that we need to implore, I was right now.
Sir, I can't speak to what a Fulton County Commissioner says. Chairman, I can't speak to what he says or what he thought.
He's counting and he's looking, he came down and spoke on it. So will APD, or can we get a response? Because the chairman, he came down to alert us on some things that we need to be aware of. And you're saying that.
I'm saying from an APD perspective, we did 1,424 diversions since that center opened. You compare with that, the year before, we did 160 pad diversions. So I'd say going from 160 to 1,400 is a heck of an increase. And I'm pretty proud of those numbers.
Just going based on what he said. And what our chairman, Rob Pitts, came down to.
I understand.
Take time out of his day to sit down and say that to us for. And the next question I have, based on some of the comments of, a lot of people came here. 4th or 5th meeting this year, the most commented on topic today was it. And what I heard, the question I came up with, do you know how many hours are dedicated to officers learning about the diversion center and taking people there?
Are you asking, well, there's two different questions there. Are you asking?
Clarify it.
Okay, go ahead, clarify.
I'll make it clear.
Please.
And plain as possible. On me, because I needed to re-clarify for myself as well. Right? So, do you know how, because we heard a lot of people talk about the public safety training facility, which I did not vote for based on the price of it and some other things. But I understand that the public safety training facility was built so that we can work on training with our officers and training with the community and just different training. And so I'm asking you, do you know how many hours have been dedicated to training our officers to take people to the diversion center? Or can you look into that?
I do not know. I know we've CDS staff have visited our roll calls extensively. We talk about it in every meeting. We talk about it in training. We have a policy on it. The policy mirrors what our PAD policy was. So it is an extension or a kind of a evolvement of the PAD SOP. So I can't speak to the number of hours that we have spent training on that. I'm not sure, but I know we've talked about it extensively over the past year, and even leading up to its opening, we were talking about it extensively. We're visiting roll calls and again doing familiarity tours. We had a lot of tours over there that we invited officers to. So there's a lot of avenues that we took to do those.
And training, talking about the diversion center.
Yes, I don't know the hours.
Okay.
What do you mean with the training center specifically? Is there a class? Are you asking if there's a class?
I got you. Our chairman said that he wants to make sure we are informing our officers about this. So I'm asking you, do you know how many hours that we're asking our officers to know about the training facility. Like, we had somebody say they don't know, officers don't know where it's located.
I would love to know where that came from because, yes, I have not heard that. And again, I talk to officers all the time. I would love to know where that came from, and we definitely want to correct that issue. We guys actually talked to our academy staff about possibly a video or including some in-service training, so we can absolutely look into that, yes.
And lastly, I heard you say when you talked about the 4 reasons that a person can go to the diversion center.
Yes.
One of them was the person before he's locked up, or the person, he or she goes to Rice Street, it's offered at some point. You say they have to accept, they have to say, hey, I want to go to the diversion center.
They have to consent to go, correct.
Is it ever offered?
Yes, it's offered. If it's offered and they don't consent, then they would have to go to jail. But yes, they have to consent in order to go to the diversion center.
Black man from Atlanta, a lot of experiences with the police officers before I was on council, probably for the rest of my life. My uncles, everybody I know, a lot of just being black in any city in America, a lot of experience with police officers, but in Atlanta in particular. At what point do they offer the diversion center?
Well, it could be at any point, and again, it would depend on the specific situation because there is discretion that is involved. Again, the criteria has to be met, so there's no specific time they have to offer it. If that at the end, if they hear the stories, figure out the situation, if that's the appropriate way to go, then they'll approach the subject and say, "Hey, I think diversion would work here. Would you be interested in going with us?"
I just want to know 2 things if we can add to it.
Councilmember.
If we can add.
Councilmember, let me get Councilmember Amos.
Yep.
Councilmember Martin, and then we'll come back.
Can I just say, I'm finishing up right now. I'm finishing up right now.
Let me go to Councilmember Amos.
Okay.
Councilmember Martin, and then we'll come back to you. Councilmember Byron Amos.
Thank you. Very quickly, Chief Smith, thank you. You had the list of the people that sits on the committee, right? Could you run that list down again for me?
Just some of the stakeholders that are on the Justice Policy Board.
Yes.
So it's City Council, of course, has a seat. Fulton County judges, City Solicitor's Office, Grady, CDS, PAD, APD, of course. And I know I'm leaving somebody out, or I know I'm leaving out entities, but I can get the complete rundown for you. But that's just off the top of my head.
These meetings open to the public?
I don't believe so, sir.
Okay. And the reason I ask, because there seems to be a disconnect about what we're doing and what it appears we're not doing. But it also appears that everyone who can answer that question is already in the room.
Correct.
So I would like to know, how do we solve that disconnect with the people in the room? So if you could get me that information, if it's open to the public, how do I talk? I'm not gonna always write a letter.
Sure. Well, Councilman Hillis chairs it.
Perfect. Okay. And then last but not least, I just want to give a shout out to my officers in Zone 1 and Zone 5. It's always good to see the negative beside the percentage of change, especially when we are always faced with Falcons, Atlanta United concerts, State Farm and everything. So anything that those officers can do is definitely helpful to the community. You will begin to see probably some unconventional policing techniques requests coming from our majors. We're having an uptick of car break-ins on ML King.
Mm-hmm.
So the old bait car technique, things that we officers on bikes to ride our bike lanes, so everyone is pulled over, they just want to run in and pick up a online order, go ahead and ticket them. So it's going to be some unconventional things that you're going to see. I just hope that headquarters can definitely support Major Hunt and Major Baldini as we move forward, as you have always done. Let me
Yes,
say
sir.
that. All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. That's it, Madam Chair.
Vice Chair Wayne Martin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief, if you could bring back at our next meeting what the criteria for diversion is and just an overview of the SOPs, the standard operating procedures around diverting individuals. I think that would be very helpful for all of us. I mean, I'm a new council member and well aware of the program. I remember when it was instituted, but I would love to know of the flow of process. You got it already? That's perfect. All right. Well, that answers my question. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Chief, on Fairburn Road on Friday night, there were 2 different episodes going on the Zone 4 side at Country Oaks, and at Fairburn Gordon, the Zone 1 side, simultaneously, like 10, 15 minutes away from each other. Would you please be so kind as to connect those dots for me. It was a pretty bad situation at both apartment complexes. Unless, do you have that information today, or could you connect?
I certainly will get it for you, yes. I believe I know the situation you're talking about, but I want to confirm that it's the same one. But yes, I will certainly read.
Two different, very bad incidents happened there.
Yeah, I'll be happy to get back with you on that.
Thank you very much. Back to Councilmember Antonio Lewis.
My request is if you can let me know when they would ask that question, when you bring that back, when they would ask a person when an officer would ask a person who is interacting, he or she is interacting with, if they would like to go to the diversion center?
There's no specified time. They can ask it at any point.
Okay. All right. And the last one is looking at the COBRA report.
Yes, sir.
Because today you didn't go through it, but knowing that crime is down 17% citywide, 19% in zone 1, 34% in zone 2, 15% in zone 4, 20% in zone 5, and 20% in zone 6. And I know our last meeting, we talked about zone 3 needing more resources. Right now it's up still 13% in zone 3. Have you adjusted to zone, we talked before also about the amount of police officers in zone 3 at the area. Have you adjusted to the numbers for zone 3? Because this is now 2 weeks straight.
2 weeks straight of an increase? Or 2 weeks?
Of the increase.
2 weeks, yes. Well, there's always staffing adjustments that are made. We certainly always have our ancillary units such as Apex and ACE that have a heavy presence in Zone 3 and hit those corridors very hard. We did have an academy class that came out recently, so Zone 3 is getting some resources. Coming up on Thursday will be day number 1. So yes, so we're always making adjustments as we go through the year.
Lastly, thank you to the officers who have used PAD. The officers who've used PAD citywide, huge thank you to them. And thank you to the officers from Zone 3 who went into Roselle, 160 Roselle. That was Officer Rush, Officer Jefferson, Officer Skinner, Jones, a part of it, Hartsfield, Parker, Sanders, Hawley, Cleveland Smith, Cannon, Lee, Quick, Johnson, and McEachern. Thank you for everyone who helped out over there.
And the sergeant on scene, Sergeant McEachron, did a fantastic job.
Huge shout out to Zone 3 Major for all of the work he's been doing in the area. I hope winning that trophy 2 years straight, seeing crime go up, I hope we get him the resources he needs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And Chief, I would like to thank Chief Shearbaum, Chief of Staff, Chief Smith, also Mr. Overton and our entire staff for putting together a wonderful tour of the training facility on last week. We were able to take a two-hour tour. We were able to meet some of our recruits and just exactly see how things operate and run. And it is a state-of-the-art facility, and we are so very proud of it. We were joined by our solicitor, Mr. Carter, members of our judiciary, and so many other interested staff. So again, please relay that to Chief Shearbaum and Chief of Staff Smith. Thank you all for what you all did in the city of Atlanta on Saturday for the C.T. Martin exhibit as well. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll pass that along. We're so very proud too. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Wayne Martin.
On a similar note, I want to thank Major Clay and Captain Crowder from Zone 4 for attending our first town hall meeting of this term. They showed up in a major way. They've been very responsive from January 5th to present. I think we're making some major gains, as we can see in our statistics. We got these theft from autos that are up, but we're doing our part to push the clean car campaign, which I think will quell a lot of that. But real big shout out to Zone 4, led by Major Clay and Captain Crowder. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Love hearing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much. Oh, Chief, we have Chief Smith. We have Councilmember Kelsey Bond would like to give some comments or concerns.
Yeah, thank you for relaying some of your perspective on the diversion issue. I think, what this resolution primarily calls for is more transparency around the diversion data, calling for, with the new substitution, monthly reporting on diversion data, the ratio of arrest to diversion, and really drilling down into some of these cases so that we can continue to improve the arrest to diversion ratio. Each public safety meeting, we drill down into data related to crime and violent crime. And so I think, given the severity of the overcrowding of the Fulton County Jail, the diversion issue warrants that kind of same attention and level of attention that we do to other public safety related issues in the city. So that is the purpose of the resolution.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Chief. And now we will have our next presentation, Mr. Attorney Kenneth Days, Office of the Public Defender, Quarterly Update.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Kenneth Days, the Director and Chief Public Defender for the City of Atlanta's Office of the Public Defender. And I believe this is the first time that we've had our department's had the privilege to present before Councilmember Bond and Councilmember Martin, so certainly appreciative of that privilege. Today, our presentation will attempt to provide an example, a concrete example of how not only the work that we do provides a significant social benefit to your constituents in our Atlanta communities, but also how we add a significant amount of financial value to the city of Atlanta. Or maybe not. Okay. Thank you. For a little bit more than a decade, our office has operated as a client-centered holistic practice, wherein our mission has been to provide not only exceptional amount of legal service to those that we serve, but also look to simultaneously strengthen our communities by reducing or even preventing any action or interaction with the court system at all, which in of itself acts as a cost saving. For the year 2025, we were appointed, our office was appointed just over 5,600 cases, which, as you see the statistic to the far right, that represents 53% above what the recommended guidelines for representation would be. And to put that number in context, pre-pandemic, our office consistently represented more than 20,000 cases annually. And of course, our internal projections and even those of the municipal court anticipate that within the next year or two, we will move closer towards those pre-pandemic numbers. Also, for the year 2025, we had a total closed case amount of just over 5,200 cases. And some of those cases actually originated in 2024. Of course, our largest practice area is DUI defense. Usually about 900 active cases. And the unfortunate statistic that goes along with that is our office is currently 48% above the recommended caseload. So, the volume is overwhelming at this point, but we have a very dedicated staff. But the reality is that we need more resources to accommodate it. And the reason that DUI cases tend to last so long is they're about a 4 to 6 month time period on a DUI representation. And we're providing better service, I believe, than private practitioners, and that's what the citizens deserve, and we will continue to accommodate that. Some of the general statistics that you see here in custody cases, which represents the number of people who are arrested. Our Padilla advisements is actually, those are statistics, are us complying with the requirements for attorneys to advise any client that may have a potential immigration consequence of what that consequence should be. Also want to sort of quickly mention, appreciative of this council for approving, I think in your last session, grant funding for us to hire a fellow to assist with those Padilla advisories. Our unhoused referrals show the number of individuals that we were able to recommend or refer to shelter housing or transitional supportive housing, and even some instances permanent housing. We're always appreciative to have any of our referrals into permanent housing. Social service numbers run the gamut. That can be anything from mental health to emergency food or just benefits, Social Security, or even just securing an ID. We also, as you may well know, our office produces a community resource guide to over 100 individuals and organizations that actually list where an individual may be able to find some of those services on a weekly basis. The evidence requests that you see here of 2,700 are evidence requests by our office's attorneys to our investigators. Of those 2,700 evidence requests, that led to approximately a little bit over 10,000 pieces of evidence being obtained. And that is not including the discovery that's also requested from the solicitor's office for each individual case. So it gives you an idea of just how voluminous this work can be. And then lastly, our holistic employment program saw a total of 89 individuals last year. And that's individuals that were either referred to one of our employer partners or one that we were able to offer an individual some job readiness support, which could be anything from resume writing help to interview skills to even some financial literacy, so that there's an element of stabilization after they receive employment. So under the holistic model, as you see here, we know that prevention is more cost effective than punishment. So within that, I wanted to provide an example of how our department adds value to the city. So on this one, the number one arrest for the Atlanta City Detention Center is either suspended license or driving without a license. Our office is appointed to approximately 1,400 of those cases annually. Studies determine, and we've got the statistics at the bottom of this page that you see, where it costs about an average of $2,000 per arrest. And if you multiply that just times the cases that our office is handling, that is a cost to the city of approximately $2.8 million. So that begs the question, why are there so many suspended license arrests? Here we've listed out some of the common barriers for license reinstatement, or why someone's license may be suspended in the first place. A lot of it has to do with failure to appears, and a person can receive a failure to appear just because they have not been notified properly of the next court date, or they may lose that notice, or there's not a mechanism to notify that person of when that next court date is, which could be months and months out. It could be because of an insurance lapse, which is a very common thing, because a lot of people don't know that if your insurance lapse, just because you reinstate your insurance, there's also a fine owed to the Department of Driver Services that must be paid to get reinstated. Child support delinquencies, there are a lot of literacy issues around trying to navigate license reinstatement. We assist with those. And just the DDS process is pretty arduous. So what is the Public Defender's Office doing about that? What we have done is created a license restoration program. which specifically assists individuals in navigating that reinstatement process and looking to prevent an arrest. And we do an incredible job with this program, but the fact of the matter is it takes a lot of time and a lot of people, which we have neither of. So there's not enough resource for us to accommodate the amount of requests that we receive. And what we also have done is we've held multiple community clinics. We've partnered with MPUs, churches, other organizations to try to get the word out, to try to assist individuals who may have a suspended license, or help them to find out why that license is suspended and what steps they need to take, which are some of which are listed right there, to get their license reinstated. So providing that one example illustrates how investing in public defense and being intentional and continually supporting our office financially, directly and indirectly ensures that not only our department, but other city departments can function more efficiently and cost effectively. And just to sort of put a stamp on this, what we do actually makes the city stronger. It's often the only check and balance that forces the system to operate fairly and equitably. And just briefly, some of our community outreach. Here we've got some presentations that we did at our employment hub meeting, and also our mentorship program with Next Level Boys Academy. We have multiple active community outreaches with community partners like Gateway, the Ansley School, Lutheran Redeemer, Hope House, Chris 180, Atlanta House Proud, First Presbyterian, Emma's House, Lady T's Food Ministry. We also have a DUI mobile clinic that's up and running now, and we have a pilot program that we're establishing now with the Atlanta Citizens Review Board, and we've consistently been working with PAD, so those are some of our regular community partners. Also here, we've got our holistic employment program fair that we did, and some pictures that you see here of us just reaching out directly to the community. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is the Honorable Antonio Lewis, followed by Vice Chair Wayne Martin.
Just want to say, Director Days, thank you so much for your report. Thank you for the work that you've been doing. I know that I wish that there was, and I'm excited about budget season, but I hope that you all, when we ask the questions during budget season about are you able to fully do what you need to do with the funds that you have, I hope that we get the request in. Yep. Because this public defender's driver license program has been talked about all over the city.
Right.
And people are saying, how do I get it? How do I get it? I'm calling, but to hear you today, I see your passion. I know you want to do it, but you just need a little bit more capital to actually get it done. So this actually helped clear up some of that jail that we're doing. So thank you again for your report. Thank you for the work that your team is doing. I know y'all are doing yeoman's work right now. Thank you.
Vice Chair Wayne Martin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for being here, Mr. Today. It's good to see you again.
You as well.
Last time I saw you, we were in the atrium at a dinner together.
That's right.
Supporting our young college athletes. I did want to know, what can we do to help get the word out about these suspended licenses? I don't want to see, I'd imagine a lot of the folks that are in that group are probably either very young or, sort of struggling financially. I guess what is it that we can do to support those efforts? I appreciate what I've heard you share that you've done and the department's done already, but I want to see us, I hate to see people, interacting with law enforcement unnecessarily over an issue, that we could solve as a community. But in your expert opinion, what can we do to be helpful in that regard?
Well, one way we can be supportive of each other is when you have a council event, let us know, and we'll come out there, set up a table, and effectively just, have that one-on-one communication with folks who may have that need and start providing that service. The unfortunate thing is, again, it takes a lot of time. Sure. It takes a lot of resources, so we're not as able to do it as fast as we could in the past, but that's the quickest and most effective way. And I mean, again, as Councilmember Lewis said, it's work that we want to do.
Sure.
Because anything we can do to keep people from being arrested and going through that process. I mean, we above all anybody else knows, it's just not an efficient thing to have someone arrested on a suspended license charge that's preventable.
Okay.
Just by navigating the system, making some phone calls. So anytime you have an event, just, let us know and we'll make sure that we're there.
I got one coming up soon.
Okay.
I feel like you might be kind of throwing a little dart at me for not inviting you to my first one, but
No, it's okay.
I promise you, I got you on the next one.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this very well done presentation.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, Atlanta Citizens Review Board, Mr. Samuel Reed.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair Boone, Vice Chair Martin, and committee members. Nice to meet you, City Council Member Bond. And good to see you again, Council Member Lewis. I'm Lee Reed, Executive Director of the Atlanta Citizen Review Board, and with me today, I have Deputy Director Sheena Robertson and Deputy Director Marla Smith. I'm going to do the overview, and they'll go into their respective areas of operations. All right. Okay. The Atlanta Citizen Review Board is responsible for conducting independent investigations of Atlanta police and corrections officers. We also engage in citizen community engagement and education. Our goal is to be able to ensure that we have the best officers on the streets and that the community is involved in police accountability and transparency. Messing up the thing. Okay. Our 2025 officers were Kelvin Williams, Leah Pulliam, and Andrea Broler. We recently had elections in February, so you'll see some new pictures up there at our next presentation. This presentation is going to cover July through December 2025. Just for the public to know, a citizen has 365 days to file a complaint. The complaint must involve an Atlanta police or corrections officer, must be signed, citizens and filed anonymously, and and then our next categories that we accept are a range of allegations, including abusive language, abusive authority, appropriate action required, conduct, discrimination, discriminatory references, excessive force, failure to provide identification, false arrest, false imprisonment, harassment, retaliation, and serious bodily injury and death. What I'd like to go to now is provide you some agency updates. Thanks to the council and the mayor's office, we were able to secure funding for additional resources. I wanted to update you that we have 5 of the 6 investigative positions filled. We're currently looking at applications for the 6th position. That's going to mean increased timelines for us. Reduced timelines for us in investigations. So this is a great step. We also hired 3 of our support personnel. That's going to help us out greatly. And then we have 2 vacant positions that we're currently looking to fill as well. As you see on here, the next one is space renovations. Thank you to Dean and staff. We've worked together to renovate our space to be able to accommodate the new personnel in the space on the 1st floor of City Hall Tower. And now I'd like to go to the MOU compliance update. With the presentation, you all received a MOU compliance report. I'm glad to inform you that 31 of the 35 items under the MOU have been filled, have been either completed implemented, and ongoing. The 4 items that you see on this chart here are items that we are just working to secure dates with the APD and the board to be able to fulfill those items going into 2026. And those dates are related to training and the Chief Sheriff attending a board meeting. And with that, one other thing I want to mention while I'm up here speaking, the board membership, we have 2 vacancies on the board. We also need a 18 to 30-year-old seat to be filled. We will be approaching you all soon to see how we could work to get that vacant seat filled. Then we should be good to go. And we have 2 expired terms, one being the League of Women Voters and Gate City Bar. And with that, I will pass this over to the complaint data, Ms. Deputy Director Sheena Robertson.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Director Reed stated, this complaint data covers the last 6 months of 2025, so from July to December. And during this period, the agency received a total of 87 complaints. 41 complaints were assigned to full investigation. 38 complaints were dismissed, and the majority of those dismissals occurred because the subject officers were not employed by the Atlanta Police or Corrections Departments, but rather by outside law enforcement agencies. 5 complaints were pending receipt of the signed complaint forms from the complainant. Once those are received, they will be assessed to determine whether or not they will go for an investigation or if they will be dismissed. And also, if the complaints are not received of complaint forms, then they will also be dismissed. 1 complaint was referred to mediation, and 2 complaints were pending additional information from the complainants to determine whether or not that complaint will also go to investigation or if it will be dismissed. During this reporting period, zones 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 received complaints, as did council districts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 12. And at the end of the 6-month period, the agency had 174 open investigations, including cases that were carried over from the previous year. We closed 37 investigations during this time, and our average investigating timeline was 336 days. In total, for 2025, the agency received 239 complaints, and 42 of those were assigned to a full investigation. During the same period, the board held 5 public meetings, which occur on the 2nd Thursday of each month, as well as 2 complaint review panel meetings, and those meetings are also public and are held to adjudicate completed complaint investigations. During those meetings, the board reviewed and made determinations on 20 completed investigations, which involved a total of 69 allegations. All were related to the Atlanta Police Department. Of those allegations, 41% were sustained, meaning there was sufficient evidence to conclude that the involved officer or officers committed the alleged act of misconduct. The APD agreed with 18% of the board's sustained findings. However, 57% of the board's sustained allegations were still pending a final determination from APD at the close of the reporting period, so that percentage may increase or decrease depending on APD's final decision. Our top 3 allegations for this period were appropriate action required. This category included allegations related to false arrests, inadequate investigation or services. The second one was false imprisonment. This category primarily involved allegations concerning illegal stops and detainments, mostly related to traffic stops. And the third was violation of department standard operating procedure. This category included allegations involving inadequate report or failure to complete report or illegal search and seizures. And also during this period, the APD notified the agency of 4 officer-involved shootings, 1 in custody death, and 2 firearm discharges. Deputy Director Smith will now provide an overview of the agency community outreach and engagement highlights. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheena. Good afternoon, council members. I am Myola Smith, Deputy Director. I will start my presentation with slide number 12. Beginning with slide number 12, today I will share briefly some community engagement highlights from 2025, and that period would be July through December. From July through December, the outreach team participated in 21 events and activities. Normally, the board meets monthly here at City Hall, in fact, right in this room, but at least 2 or 3 times out of the year, we take the board meeting to the people and meet with them in their neighborhood. During this period, we had 2 community meetings, Lindsay Street Baptist Church, and I believe that's in District 3, and Chastain Park Conservancy, and that's in Norwood's District 8. Last year, for the annual National Night Out, the agency celebrated in 3 communities, Pittman Park, Recreation Center, Dixie Hills, and Collier Park. In July, we wrapped up the 2025 Art Essay Contest, awarding 27 winners out of 400 plus entries. Now, while a student may not have won a prize, a certificate of achievement is presented to all contestants so that everyone walks away feeling like a winner. Over the past decade, we continue to foster a partnership with Greenbrier Mall, appearing monthly for what we call the First Friday of the Month campaign. During this presentation period, staff and board members came together and visited Greenbrier 5 times, greeting residents and providing service information materials. Some of our flagship activities include Sweet Arbor Music Festival, Morehouse School of Medicine Community Day, 17th Annual Festival of Lights, and the Atlanta Park Parade, to name a few. The outreach team also partners with other groups, hosting back-to-school bashes and providing backpacks and other much-needed back-to-school items. We also reach out to your council staff and city departments and Fulton County for collaboration projects. In the past, we have worked with Parks and Recreation, and also with the constituent services. We participated in November in the Veterans Recognition March and Ceremony. Now, regarding APD, staff presented to new APD recruits, and ACRB and APD collaborated and provided OPS training for board members. We ended the year with a holiday reception honoring the board and special members of the community, including Reverend Anthony Motley, who received the Ivory Lee Young Service Award. Slide number 14, in 2025, this was the year we focused a lot of our time on the youth. Besides the back-to-school events mentioned earlier, outreach staff conducted Know Your Rights presentations for teenagers and young adults. We visited several recreation centers around the city at the request of Camp Best Friends, and I have to give a lot of credit to our mascot, the Justice Crusader, who did an excellent job of capturing and holding the attention of the children attending the camp. I'm going to skip over to slide 16. Earlier, I mentioned that our goal for 2025 is to help the youth, but also in 2025 and going into 2026, our goal is to help both youth and adults understand their constitutional rights, recognizing the limits of police authority and knowing how to handle encounters with officers who may behave inappropriately. We have information materials to help, and we also have training. Now, to schedule a training, call 865-8622, and that's our main number. That completes my segment of the presentation. However, I would like to thank the outreach and administration team for all of their hard work, Naomi Bondman, Cree Cornish, Charles Curry, and our newest members, David Coleman and Tiffany Malcolm. Now, Mr. Reed will give you, well, he's already given you the board membership update. I want to say thank you for your time.
First speaker, the Honorable Antonio Lewis.
First, I want to say congratulations to Ms. Adrian Proler, who is now a board member who represents the huge thing there. I think she's stepping in for Ms. Ann Phillips or for Ms. Who's she stepping in for? Or for,
Adrian Proler?
Yeah.
We just elected her to be secretary of the board.
Okay, who was the previous secretary?
She got reelected.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Even happier then. So get to work with her even more. The questions I had, not even questions. Also want to say thank you for working with me the past 4 years to see the council districts that you actually have complaints from and to see 12 in it. Knowing that that's the work that you've done, going to apartment complexes all over Cleveland Avenue and all over the new Michael Langford Road and all over Jonesboro Road. And that was to get the word out.
Yes.
You had people who've traditionally felt like there was no one they can talk to. And so for you to come to Roselle Finn and to go to Pittman Park at all these events, it actually helped get that word out. And we stay on this list, good and bad. What I mean by that, it empowers people. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
The Honorable Vice Chair Wayne Martin.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Thank you for being here today, Mr. Reed. I wanted to, number one, say thank you for you and the team that came out to our first town hall meeting. I think people were pleasantly surprised, and I know they took the information in. The Know Your Rights conversation is very important among African-American teenagers and young people that live in Southwest Atlanta and District 11. I want to make sure we continue to build on those conversations to help our young people know how to navigate their experiences when they're interacting with law enforcement. I wanted to delve a little bit more into the compliance items. I know that's minuscule in comparison to, the number of items that were on the positive side of the scale. But I know you mentioned that one was some board training. Can you give us a little bit more information on the 4 specific compliance items? And yeah, just delve into that a little bit for us.
Yes, sir. Thank you. As it relates to the training, we did a use of force training towards the end of last year, and to some timing issues, we weren't able to get to 2 modules of that training. One was reality-based scenario training, and the other was the shoot, don't shoot scenarios. Okay. And we believe that board members being exposed to that type of training will give them a feel of what an officer is experiencing when they're confronted with those types of situations. The other training was, the other to be determined date was related to getting a date during the second quarter that we could have the chief come in and speak to the board. We're really working on trying to ensure that we do that every year. That was a part of the MOU. Then we also have in-service and roll call training that we discussed recently with the APD that we would love to be a part of, to just make sure that we're alerting the APD staff as to what we're seeing out in the community on a regular basis. Yes. So that's something that we're looking forward to being able to communicate to staff, to the officers. Let's see, make sure I got everything.
I think that's all 4.
And, yep.
All right.
Yes.
And finally, I wanted to thank you for that.
Yes.
Training is everything when we're talking about the scenarios that, our officers face, as well as the work of the ACVB. And so again, I'm always wanting to be a resource, and I do feel like I speak for our colleagues. Let us know how we can help.
Yes, sir.
If there's something that we can do to help ensure that these things are happening, because what you all do is extremely important. And we want to make sure you have every resource and tool that you need to do that effectively. And so we're a resource.
Yes, sir.
My office, and I know my colleagues feel the same way. I guess my final question would be around the board appointments. I did have an individual from the Gate City Bar Association reach out to me. Okay. I think that the organizations drive these appointments, right? Because that's a very important group. That's our African-American attorneys in the city. And again, I'm offering myself as a resource to, you let me know how I can help you help us.
Yes.
We need someone from Gate City on that board because there's no one sitting on it, right? It's not unexpired.
It expired, but the board member is still on the board until we have an appointment. So hopefully he'll stay around until we have the appointment.
That's extremely important.
Yes.
I will reach out to their leadership and let them know that we need to get that seat filled as soon as possible, and also the League of Women Voters.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Reed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Martin. Mr. Reed, could you tell us a little bit about the MOU between APD and the Citizens Review Board?
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about that. I know we closed that out last year. So tell us a little bit about that agreement.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, the MOU that you're speaking of is an agreement, memorandum of understanding between the ACRB and the Atlanta Police Department as it relates to notifications involving officer-involved shootings, in-custody deaths, serious bodily injuries, and firearm discharges. Last year, can't recall the exact month, July, we entered this MOU to make sure that we're all operating on the same page and that we have some accountability and transparency between the ACRB and the APD about these officer-involved shootings and in-custody deaths, serious bodily injuries, and the firearm discharges. There were a number of items in the MOU that we wanted to make sure that we are following, and that's where I was reporting about the 31 of the 35 items. I believe that this MOU is very important for us to be able to ensure that we're providing the public with the information they need and that we're able to do our investigations in a timely manner as it relates to those categories that I mentioned earlier.
Thank you so much. Do we have any more questions or concerns from the body? The Honorable Kelsey Bond.
Yeah, thank you so much for this report and for all the work you all do. It's really important. I did have a question as a new council member. What does the life cycle of a complaint look like? About how long does it take to resolve a complaint? And it's great to see you guys have approached, or you're approaching full staffing. Do you think that new staff capacity has helped quicken that process at all?
Thank you for that, Councilman Bond. We like to try to get them done as quickly as possible. With some of the staffing challenges that we've had in the past, that made it very difficult. So with the, well, let me go back to, with the passage of the increase in the salaries for our investigators from 50 to 65,000, that allowed us to be able to attract more qualified individuals. And last year we brought in 3 investigators, and this year we brought in 1, so that was 4. That was added to, that 4 that was added to our 1. That gave us 5, and then we have this 1 more vacancy. As it relates to the timeline, yes, we will see that timeline go down significantly. Now, they have to go through a training phase, because even the officers that, the investigators that we brought in with substantial investigative experience, they still need training under how we do things. So we have to have them complete their training, then they'll start bringing in their caseloads. And then we have a strategy about how we're gonna address some of those older aging cases, because when you see that 336 days, that's really a representation of some older cases that were just sort of hanging out there that we need to get done, so our goal is to reduce that significantly.
Yeah, thank you. That's great to hear. And I also saw in the PowerPoint printout, there was a kind of overview of the cases on average, what types of cases you all have investigated. Is there a similar kind of outlining of what were the end results of the cases? Like what kinds of repercussions were implemented as a result of the findings?
Yes, in our annual reports, we provide a lot of that information. But during the quarterly reports, we do provide how the board, now this really captures the board's role, how the board decided on cases. I believe in this report, it was saying that the board had a board sustained rate of 41%, meaning that the board has determined, based on the evidence and the policies, that they recommended that the officer violated the act, violated the policy, and the recommendation was a sustained, meaning 51% or more of the evidence supports that the officer did the violation. As it relates to the final response, the 18% rate of agreement on sustained allegations, that's saying that when we sent it over, and mind you, we're looking at APD had a 57% that was still being decided over on their side. But that 18% represented the rate of agreement on the sustained findings. So that's the kind of information that we communicate to the public. And also we provide that information on our website as it relates to the final decisions by the police department. Sheena?
I'm sorry. And I just want to also add that every case that the board makes an adjudication on, that the council has given, you also are aware of, we send it to you monthly also.
Yeah, thank you so much. And how long on average does it take APD to get back to you all?
That time varies because the way the process works, once we've completed our part, our investigation, the board makes the decision, we'll send the investigation over to the APD. They'll initiate an investigation into the complaint, and then that may vary on their timeline.
And then as a new council member, I'm wondering what happens when there's a kind of disagreement there?
That is, APD has the final disciplinary authority. So they will communicate back to us what has occurred. One of the items in the MOU was a requirement that they provide us a form that clearly outlines where the disagreement occurred, so that we can start having conversations related to that. I think that's going to be helpful because I maintain that we're all looking at the same evidence and the policies. We should be pretty close in alignment. So that's the goal. I have a goal that I would like that we should always try to be above 75% rate of agreement on sustained complaints. But we'll see how the numbers turn out because it's not an immediate turnaround. So we have to wait and see and wait and see. And so that's where we are.
Yeah, thank you so much. I won't take up any more time, but I'd love to explore kind of what resolving that might look like at some point. But thank you.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Reed, for this very well done presentation. And Mr. Reed, what is going on with your community outreach position? Did you fill that position?
We still have, that's one of the positions that is vacant. That's the community affairs manager position. We're hoping to be able to have that filled soon.
Is it posted? Because we've been working on that for months.
It is posted.
Oh, what's going on with that? That's very important that we get the word out. Most people and citizens still do not know that you all exist. That is a major problem as we see it. I mean, the town hall meetings at Greenbrier and other places, we need to get someone on the ground doing the flyers. We need to get you back up on cable 26. We want to hear that you all exist. This is a major problem for us. And that community outreach coordinator position has been vacant for how long?
No, actually, we have a community outreach coordinator. The position that had been vacant was the community outreach manager. And we're promoting from within our organization. And that would leave available now the community coordinator, outreach coordinator. There was just some issues that we had to deal with in terms of waiting to hear back from the VRB. So now that we've made some progress on that, and we can post it based on the salary that we can offer.
I'm just not hearing as much about your organization as I heard last year around this time. I thought I saw yard signs and flyers and things of that nature, and we're out and about in our various communities. We want to see some movement on this. This is February. We want to see you all back again. We need a full plan on this. This is very serious in times like these. Mr. Overton, when will we see them again?
I can get back on the exact date, but it'll be in next quarter.
We need some
And we
movement.
believe in the same thing too, because normally we try to do at least 100 or 150 events.
It's not just events.
Yeah,
We need
but when I say
something
events, I'm talking about
constantly.
activities too.
What happened to the yard signs that we used to see? Didn't we see yard signs at some point, or posters or
The
something?
posters, yes.
Yeah, no, we can't just depend on events. We don't want that. It costs nothing for us to go up on cable 26.
And we
there are a lot
have
of
approached them too about being on
approach.
26. Yes, we
We
did.
really-
And last year we were on there.
Yeah, I know. We want to see more of that, Mr. Reed.
Yes.
We want to see more of that, please.
Yes.
This is very important.
I agree with you, Councilmember, Madam Chair Boone. We do have we have a three-track strategy that we employ in the office. One is constantly having information out in front of the community. That's either being mass communication, meaning like our MARTA system, billboards, yard signs like you're talking about. Then it's the events that we're talking about, and it's also the radios and Channel 26. Those are things that we employ to get the word out, and we will be continuing to do that. So we definitely believe in community outreach, community engagement, and having that community presence. We have our mobile units that roll through the communities, making sure that people have the visibility, that we have the visibility in each community. Those are things, and I'm so excited to hear what you just said about community engagement, because that is what we're about.
Do you all have a mechanism for sending email blasts to citizens?
Yes.
Text messages? We really need to see more from you guys.
Yes.
We really do. We really do, because at some point, it seemed like you all were really out there doing things. So we want to
Yes.
see more of that.
Yes, you have our commitment. We will make sure you see that. Yes.
We want to see that plan, and we'll see you all again. Mr. Overton will let you all know again.
And
Thank
we'll
you very
make sure
much.
you get it.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Overton, please proceed.
Yes, Madam Chair. This brings us to our consent agenda. We will first need to take action on our favorable claims.
Motion to approve favorable claims. Seconded by the Honorable Byron D. Amos. Please open the vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Vote is open. One moment.
I verbally said yes, I'm sorry.
You did. It's all, we're just having some difficulties here. It's all good.
I thought it was
The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The items have been
Motion
favorable.
to adverse unfavorable claims. Seconded by the Honorable Byron D. Amos. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The unfavorable claims have been adversed. Madam Chair, this brings us to our ordinances for first reading, for which we have one. Item number 1, 26-01174, an ordinance by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee amending the 2026 Intergovernmental Grant Fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations in the amount of $33,262.45 on behalf of the Atlanta Fire Rescue Department for the purpose of funding the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation grant program developed in partnership with the Atlanta Fire Rescue Department and for other purposes. This brings us to our regular agenda, starting with ordinances for second reading. Item number 2, 26-01138, An ordinance by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee to waive the procurement source selection provisions contained in Division 4 of Chapter 2, Article 10 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions, to authorize the mayor or his designee to ratify services rendered in connection with Agreement SP-S-1220052, APD Background and Recruitment File Automation System with Guardian Alliance Technologies Incorporated, to enter into Amendment Number 4, and to extend the term of the agreement on a month-to-month basis on behalf of the Atlanta Police Department and the Atlanta Fire and Rescue Department for a term of 1 year, retroactively effective February 2nd, 2026 through February 1st, 2027, in an amount not to exceed $108,500.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Move approve.
Moved by the Honorable Wayne Martin, seconded by the Honorable Byron D. Amos. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. This brings us to item number 3, 26-01146, an ordinance by council members Wayne Martin and Andrea L. Boone to ratify services rendered in connection with sole source agreement SS-S-12208283, Pioneer Technology benchmark maintenance and support with Catalyst Court and Land Records LLC, and to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute Amendment Number 2 of the agreement on behalf of the Municipal Court of Atlanta, and to exercise renewal option number 2 for a term of 1 year, retroactively effective January 25th, 2025 through January 24th, 2026, in an amount not to exceed $300,750.00. All funds shall be charged to and paid from the funding account listed herein and for other purposes.
Move approve.
Moved by the Honorable Wayne Martin, seconded by, I will second that motion. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. This brings us to item number 4, 26-01148, an ordinance by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari to amend Chapter 10, Article 2, Sections 10-92B of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as to provide an exemption from the distance requirement listed in Section 10-88.1 for package stores licensed to sell malt beverages and/or wine for an establishment located at 1675 Memorial Drive Southeast and for other purposes.
Move approval.
Second.
Seconded by the Honorable Wayne Martin. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. This brings us to item number 5. Madam Chair, there is a substitute for this item.
Do we have a motion to bring forth the substitute?
So moved.
Moved by the Honorable Wayne Martin, seconded by the Honorable Antonio Lewis.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before the body. Madam Chair, the substitute for the record adds a subsection to the recitals which places a prohibition on alcoholic beverage licenses from offering all you can drink for a set price. And this is item number 5, 26-01156, an ordinance by Councilmember Alex Wan as substituted by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee to amend Chapter 10, Alcoholic Beverages of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to provide allowances for public beverage promotions, to acknowledge reporting requirements for such promotions, to amend Chapter 10, Section 10-226, to remove the current exclusions and acknowledge new allowances. Madam Chair, there is a request to hold this item by the sponsor.
Held by the Honorable Wayne Martin, seconded by the Honorable Byron D. Amos. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The item is held in committee. Madam Chair, this brings us to our resolution, starting with item number 6, 26R3234. Madam Chair, there is a substitute for this item as well.
Do we have a motion to bring forth the substitute? Moved by the Honorable Wayne Martin, seconded by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before the body. For the record, the substitute cleans up the language and reframes the reporting requirements. The substitute also adds a whereas clause, adding context regarding the DOJ findings of the Fulton County Jail, the consent decree, and the city's equity commitments ahead of the 2026 World Cup. This is item number 6, 26R3234. A resolution by Councilmember Kelsey Bond, Jason Dozier, Antonio Lewis, Liliana Bakhtiari, Eshe Collins, and Matt Westmoreland, as substituted by the Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee, requesting the Atlanta Police Department to examine its procedures to express the policy priority of the City of Atlanta to emphasize community-based diversion for low-level offenses, encouraging the use of pre-arrest diversion in lieu of custodial arrest where appropriate, and requesting regular transparency reporting on enforcement trends, and for other purposes.
Do we have a motion?
I just have a question, Councilmember, and since we have our
Question.
main sponsor present, if you would allow me. Now, what is the substitute doing, Councilmember?
Yeah. So I'll explain the substitute. It's fixing some typos, first of all. Then it adds a whereas section invoking the resolution that was unanimously passed, authored by Councilmember Dozier, supporting the platform of the Play Fair ATL World Cup Coalition, which names preventing the displacement and criminalization of unhoused residents. So it just invokes that we unanimously affirm that resolution. And then the last thing it changes is originally, so it called on APD to do regular reporting of diversion-related statistics before the PSLA committee. Originally, it did not specify a time interval, but I got some feedback from some of the co-sponsors that we should tighten that up a bit and recommend an actual time interval, so it recommends a monthly presentation now.
Thank you, Councilmember.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by the Honorable Antonio Lewis, seconded by the Honorable Vice Chair Wayne Martin. Please open the vote. Mr. Overton, can you speak up? We can't hear you.
I'm sorry, that was 3 yeas, 1 abstention. The item is favorable. This brings us to our papers held in committee, for which we have 1 coming before the body. Item number 7, 26-01085. Madam Chair, we do have a substitute for this item as well.
Do we have a motion to bring
So
forward a
moved.
substitute? The Honorable Wayne Martin, seconded by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before the body. For the record, the substitute edits the legislation to create a temporary exemption to the city's public drinking prohibition to establish the South Downtown Open Container District from March 16, 2026 through January 31st, 2027, within specifically defined boundaries. The substitute also adds Councilmember Worthy as a co-sponsor. And so this is item number 7, 26-01085. An ordinance by council members Jason Dozier, Alex Wan, and Thomas Worthy, as substituted by the Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee, to amend Chapter 10, Article 1, Section 10-8 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to create an exemption from the prohibition against persons of lawful age consuming alcoholic beverages in the streets, sidewalks, alleyways, parking areas, and other open areas operated and controlled by the City of Atlanta, in a portion of South Downtown, on portions of Broad Street, Martin Luther King Jr. Drive Southwest, Forsyth Street, Mitchell Street, and Ted Turner Drive Southwest, Nelson Street, Trinity Avenue, Peachtree Street, and Alabama Street Southwest, to be defined as the South Downtown Open Container District and for other purposes.
Move approval.
Madam Chair, there is a request to hold this item as well from the sponsor.
Motion to hold.
Second.
Motion to hold by the Honorable Wayne Martin, seconded by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The item returns to being held in committee as substituted. Madam Chair, that concludes our legislative agenda for today.
Do we have any questions or concerns from the body and announcements at this time? This meeting is adjourned.